As part of our discussion today regarding media asset management, we've been talking about process and technology. I'm not sure someone wants to go to a film called Process versus Technology, but talking about technology or multiple platforms, is it possible to have truly effective and practical media management in a world of multiple platforms? Peter, if I can come to you first.
I think it's always going to be a challenge, but I think in some respects having multiple platforms is a driver for having better media management. Without good quality media management, delivering material to lots of different platforms and then tracking it once it's there would be impossible. I think any organisation which attempts to really truly get their content to as many places as possible needs to have very strong ways of tracking that, very strong ways of measuring to see which have been successful, where it's been well received and really done some work to try and then drive future business in that direction as well. So I think in some respects you can't have mass use of material without good quality media management.
Definitely, I would agree. I've always said media management is king. In the old days, we had a physical videotape. You could go along and look on the shelves, and you might find it eventually. You will find it eventually. In our new file-based world, you can't do that. So the metadata is king. It is the only index. It's the only key. It's the only pointer you've got to where those images are, that content is. So I think it's absolutely key for tracking across a whole range of different platforms. So you know exactly where it is, who's doing what to it, hopefully where it's passing through, so we avoid some of the security nasties, and just generally know exactly where your media is and where it's going at all times.
Metadata is now king.
Absolutely. Metadata is king within the operation and triggers so many other processes throughout the content chain. And I think it also integrates the different technologies. We've spoken about all the technologies, the different platforms. So metadata is absolutely king. I think the problem that there is in the industry, and this goes back to a bit of the outsource model. One of the problems that you've got is educating the personnel throughout the content lifecycle, that's internal within an organisation and to the external organisation, how important the metadata entry and the accuracy of it is. Because a lot of people don't actually see the whole life cycle, and there's a question, well, why should I enter that accurately? Why should I do this? So I think the technologies, joining up the technologies is absolutely crucial, and media management really helps with that, and workflow management integration. But I think more importantly is to make sure that the operators, the people that are carrying out the tasks, get presented with the relevant metadata for their task, which doesn't overload them, but they do then understand and can be educated as to why they're entering that throughout the content chain. I think we've seen a number of operations where the outsourced playout provider is not really interested in any of the metadata other than that gets it out on air on a 99.999 service level agreement. But the company that owns the content needs the metadata in a much more accurate manner. So I think integrating the technologies is one thing, but integrating the operations is a significant part of that, with metadata being the key.
I'm seeing a lot of nodding here. The problem that strikes one about metadata and the entry of it, it's one of the least sexy parts of the whole media asset management process. Yet, actually, we're all agreeing it's the most important.
Oh, yeah. I would disagree with that again, because there are some people in life that relish in just looking after detail.
Actuaries.
Yes. That look after detail, are keen on their particular element or part of the process and will put in all the right information. They may also just overload the system with information. And as Tony said, yeah, we've got to make sure that people get the right level of information in there. And I think there are two extremes. There are the, oh, why should I bother filling in all these metadata fields type of people, and then there's the keen archivist, librarian, those sorts of people that really know something about that particular topic, and they will put too much stuff in there sometimes, and that is just as bad as no metadata at all, I think.
I think it's very important with metadata in particular to have the approach of collecting it as you go rather than trying to type it all in one big block. I think it's really it's a question of capturing as much as possible at every step along the chain, and as close to the point where that metadata originally comes from as possible, such that the person who's originally deciding or commissioning a bit of content puts in straight away who the actors are, because they've commissioned it, they know, and really make sure the metadata follows the content the entire way. And you might even end up with a situation where, it's actually very common, where metadata is in before you get the content, because you know a lot about the material before it's even been made. So I think that really it's a question of just making sure that it's captured at the right time.